Do you only want one opinion for something as important as your retirement savings or your financial future? Well, stay tuned because we're going to talk about the value of a second opinion and why it is so important.
Retiring Well, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Hi, welcome to Retiring Well. My name is Larry Flynn and I'm joined here with Mike Reese, founder of our company, by the way. So thanks for being here, Mike. Listen, today we want to talk about the value of getting a second opinion. But I first want, in this segment, Mike, I want to talk about why people don't go out and get a second opinion, right?
Yeah, that's a great issue because, I mean, how often, to you and I, why in the world would you not get a second opinion from someone who really specializes in retirement planning? I mean, if you're in retirement, if you're nearing retirement, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's free, there's no obligation. I don't get it. Yeah. But when you really look at it, Larry, and we've talked about this, there are a number of reasons, and honestly legitimate reasons, that people don't do that, right? Now, I mean, what were some of those you were mentioning the other day?
Well, I think sometimes people are confused, okay? They don't really necessarily know what they have, so how are they going to be able to compare that with something else?
Right.
How do you go apples?
How do you know who to trust?
Well, exactly, right? I think there's so much out there too that a lot of times it's like, okay, there's so much to choose from. Which one is right for me?
Yeah, it's like, remember in the old days, remember when you and I were in high school and we had to do research for a paper?
Yes.
Where would we go to do research to write a paper? What would we do?
We'd go to magazines, right?
Yeah, and we'd go to the library. There was this thing. By the way, I have a 25-year-old daughter. She's my oldest. She has no idea what I'm about to share, but I know you do. We had this thing, Larry, called the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yes.
I think. It was beautiful. It was glorious in all of its volumes.
Yes.
But the reality is, in those days, the challenge was finding good information.
Yes.
What's our problem today? It's the exact opposite. Yeah. You just go to Google, right? And now you've got more information than you could ever need.
Exactly.
How do you know what information applies to you? How do you know what's good? How do you know what's bad? Especially if you're not knowledgeable about that world.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So I think a lot of it, Mike, is too much information. What do I choose from? This is odd. I've heard this one from people before. I'm friends with my advisor, right? If I made a change, or he found out, or she found out, I went to somebody else, they would be devastated. They would, I might offend them.
Yeah. By the way, folks, just so you're aware of it, your advisor is not as close to you typically as you think they are. Right? Some advisors do a great job of making you think they're great friends, but honestly, you're one of 300 or 400 a lot of times, and that's how the reality. Now, maybe they're your brother, different story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I would share here, and Larry and I talk about this a lot, but the way I like to say it is, it's kind of like, if you're like me, like if I go to a doctor, I don't really know what's going on. I don't really know that world, and I'm just hoping I'm talking to the right person. But, at the end of the day, probably, especially when you see markets drop, probably somewhere in the back of your head, you get that little voice, right? You've got that little voice, and that little voice just nagging you. And it's sitting there saying, hey, are you making, right? Am I making the right decisions here? Am I really making the right decisions? And at Centennial Wealth, really, it's our job to help you essentially squash that little voice like a bug, right? Because our job is to help you go from a place of, I've got that nagging voice in the back of my head, I'm wondering if I'm making the right decisions, to that place where you can be fully confident, where you can have confidence that you're retiring comfortably, that you're making the right choices, so that you can live the best that is in front of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the key. That's what we do.
Yeah, Mike, another one I'll hear people say is I think people feel like if they go get a second opinion, they're going to feel obligated to do business with that person, right?
Right.
And I know at Centennial Wealth, we welcome people to come in and talk with us. We just want to show them, how we're dealing with markets. We want to educate them.
Yeah, maybe you're a good fit, maybe you're not, but no harm in finding out.
No, we're not going to, somebody coming in for a second opinion just wants you to take a look at what they have and maybe what we offer and see how that might help them or not. We're not going to obligate them to do business with it. We're going to welcome that opportunity just to be able to talk with them.
Sure. And sometimes I know you even tell people, hey, they're in good shape. Good news. You've double checked things. You're in good shape. No need for us to help you out, correct?
That's right. So listen, we've talked about some reasons why you might not want to get a second opinion, but in the next segment, I want to talk about the value of getting a second opinion, what you might get out of a situation like that. So stay tuned.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, June 4th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord. Wednesday, June 5th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, June 6th at the Evergreen Resort in Cadillac. Or Thursday, June 13th at Stafford's Bayview Inn in Petoskey. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, now welcome back to Retiring Well. Listen, in the first segment, we talked about, those roadblocks people have and maybe getting a second opinion. But in this segment, we want to talk about the value of getting a second opinion. Mike, what might be one that come top of mind for you?
Well, by the way, we talked a little bit about it in our last segment where we talked about you want to move from this place of that nagging voice in the back of your head to a place where you can be fully confident. Mm-hmm. Getting a second opinion from a true fiduciary, someone who truly focuses and specializes on retirement planning, for those of you who are retired or nearing retirement, that is the absolute best move you could make because that's what fills you with confidence. The problem, of course, is how do you know if you're really talking to a fiduciary, someone who really has your best interests in mind? Yeah. Larry, what are some of the ways that they could, what questions could they ask? How do they figure that out?
Right.
Because everybody says they're a fiduciary, right?
That's right. Well, I think the one way you can tell a true fiduciary is by what kind of questions they ask you, right? If I'm walking into a car dealership, right, and I'm looking for a car, and the first thing that salesman wants to do is take me to what he thinks is what I want, right?
Right.
All right, and maybe he shows me the convertible, and the convertible that's fast. But I got a family of 3.
Yeah.
Right? I've got kids. I might be looking really at a utility van.
How does this all apply in the financial world? Because, I read a study that 80% of people who have advisors believe that their advisors are working in their best interests. You and I know that that is not even close to true.
No.
So how do they, like, what questions might they ask an advisor, someone they're talking to? If they were to come in with us, what would they want to see? What do they want to hear?
Well, they're going to want to get a full understanding of that person's financial situation, right? What is it they're looking to accomplish as they move towards retirement, right? And then try to really ascertain, how much risk do they want to take? How much risk do they need to take, right? And then trying to put the proper financial instruments in place that meet that end, right?
Yeah, by the way, something I would add to this whole mix is, folks, here's the deal. Let me share this with you. If you ever come across an advisor, here's a quick tip for you, who either thinks some product is either always good or always bad, right? Always good or always bad. Run. That is not a fiduciary. That is someone who does not have your best interest at heart. They've got a hidden agenda. So that's a quick tip that if you hear. And here's another quick tip that I know we talk about. Great question to ask. Can I get some client references? If you're working with a true fiduciary, Larry, what do they have to say?
They have to say, I can't give up confidentiality, right?
Right. It's like, would your doctor or lawyer, if you went to your doctor or lawyer and said, hey, could you give me some references of your clients who are happy? The doctor or lawyer would, we wouldn't even think to ask that question. The reality is, any financial advisor who is excited to give you client references, not a fiduciary, and someone you should run from. They do not treat confidentiality at the level that they need to in today's world.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing, Mike, I think people need to recognize is they're talking to that advisor. What is that advisor, what kind of products do they have, right?
Yeah.
Are they just selling some company's products, or can they sell a vast array of products?
Yeah, do they really have an open platform, right?
Right. Are they independent?
Yeah, and I know we wanted to also talk a little bit in this segment about the value of that second opinion. It's about giving that confidence, making sure you talk to the right people. But folks, at the end of the day, in my view, the big value of that second opinion from a firm like Centennial Wealth, someone who's truly a fiduciary, someone who truly focuses and specializes in retirement planning, is to help you be confident, make those right choices, those smart choices. And I want you to think about this. I want you to picture a day, where you're sitting there with your grandchildren on your lap, you're sharing values, maybe you're playing games with them, and you know that if you want to take them to Disney World, you can, because you've got the financial capability of doing that. Picture that day where your children come to you and just say, Mom, Dad, you've done such a great job with your planning, right? Could you help us be more like you, right?
Yeah.
That's just picture that day when you're in Europe and you're on that bucket list trip and you're just at the Eiffel Tower or you're in Rome and you're just looking at your spouse and it's just the most wonderful day there ever was. Yeah. That's what the second opinion brings you. Yes. Confidence and the ability to live your best that is yet to come.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So listen, if you're that person that wants a second opinion, listen, no obligation. If we're a fit, great. If we're not, that's fine
And
too.
it's free.
And
right?
it's free, no cost. So encourage you to call the number on the screen, encourage you to meet with us. Thank you.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5800 5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, June 4th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord. Wednesday, June 5th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, June 6th at the Evergreen Resort in Cadillac. Or Thursday, June 13th at Stafford's Bayview Inn in Petoskey. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated Financial Decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today. NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m., June 12th and June 19th at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, I had my own accounting firm for just over 25 years. I got involved in financial services in the late 90s because I thought it would really fit well with my practice. Now today I've since sold my practice and I'm just doing financial services. But I want to show you something that I used to walk through with a lot of business clients I had when we were doing planning. And I want to bring this up because in today's show we're talking about second opinions, right? We're talking about second opinions. So, you know, if I come in and I'm looking at my own strategy, there's some things I want to look at, I want to analyze, right? The first thing, and I call this a SWOT analysis, okay? Again, this is what we used to do with the businesses. But the first thing I want to do is identify my strengths. What's good about my planning? You know, I've got my income plan, I got my estate plan, I got my tax plan, I got my long-term care health care plan, I got my investment plan, right? My strategy. What are all my strengths of my plan? Let's walk through those. Let's talk about them. Matter of fact, let's list them out. What's good about my plan? And then let's talk about the weaknesses of my plan. What if I have a 2008 come along? The market drops to half its value. Maybe the same as 2000 through 2002, right? Is my plan ready for that? If not, is that potentially a weakness? Do I maybe have my eggs all in one basket? Maybe I haven't, maybe I haven't spread that out. Maybe I haven't what we call diversified it enough. But what's my weaknesses? Let's identify those. Let's list them out. And then let's look at what are our opportunities. What are some opportunities out there? Have I got a second opinion? Have I gone out there and talked to somebody else? What are other people doing to handle what we find out there in the marketplace? Is there opportunities out there that I don't know about? And should I go look for them? So let's identify those. Maybe I have or maybe I haven't. And then let's look at what are some threats, right? What are some things that could happen that might affect my plan? You know, what if, again, the market drops to half its value? Am I prepared for that? We've been in a declining interest rate market for almost 40 years, right? In 1980, the 10-year Treasury was just under 16%. Fast forward to about, a year and a half ago, it hit a historic low of 1.36%, right? We've been in a declining interest rate market. Now we're entering a rising interest rate market. How's my plan going to account for that? Because remember, when interest rates rise, bond values can go down. So these are threats now, right? In a rising interest rate market, what is that going to do to my bond funds if I have any? All right. Again, what's going to happen if the market drops to half its value? We've seen that now in the last couple decades. It happened twice. Now, this bull market we're in, it's maturing. I mean, many would agree. And recessions are cyclical. You'll have periods of expansion followed by periods of contraction. So again, what's the threats? What are my opportunities? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Let's look at that. We call this the SWOT analysis, but let's write them down. And then let's put a plan together to go out and identify what I need to do to change that situation. Again, the value of a second opinion is going out there and finding out who's doing what, and maybe that might be better than what I have. So I encourage you, if that's somebody like you that wants to, maybe has a question in any of these areas, I encourage you, come in and visit with us. Be glad to, maybe identify some of these, show you how we're handling things. So give us a call.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, the difference between the fiduciary and suitability standard of care, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, June 4th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord. Wednesday, June 5th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, June 6th at the Evergreen Resort in Cadillac. Or Thursday, June 13th at Stafford's Bayview Inn in Petoskey. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back to Retiring Well. Art Canfield, John Torbett here with you this week. Senior Partners Financial Advisors with Centennial Wealth Advisory right here in Traverse City. Also serving other areas across northern Michigan as well here. And this week, I think, John, both of you and I had some meetings this week that really, as we talked about these segments and stuff that have been going on here that spoke to us on how we wanted to talk about this. Right. And it's one of those things where you don't have to just accept what's been put in front of you. Know there's always other options out there that you can change your situation at the end of the day. You don't just have to do what somebody is telling you to do. If it doesn't feel right, and make sure that something matches up with what you want to do. And sometimes I see people just going along with it because that's what's happening. They feel like they got to accept it. John, a fun story I think here, it makes me think of a time you and I, great buddies since we've been little kids, 5 years old, basically kindergarten, lived together in college. I think back to, do you remember the time in college when we were having some roommate issues in the issue? And I wouldn't say issues because they're still friends of ours, but maybe just some struggles.
Yeah, so Art and I, like Art said, we've been buddies since we were just little kids, and so we went to school down at Grand Valley here in Michigan and roomed together, and we found that the dishes were starting to pile up in the sink, and that wasn't acceptable. So we agreed, okay, let's come up with something creative. So we had created a picture of Mr. T, if you remember Mr. T from the A-Team, and put a little note saying, "I pity the fool who doesn't clean their dishes." And so we thought that might catch their attention finally to say, okay, hey guys, you need to clean your dishes. And I think it sort of resonated with them a little bit, but I think we still ended up doing most of the dishes. But it's so true. I mean, a lot of times people are coming in and just saying, well, I don't know what other options there are. I've had these investments for a while. My advisor maybe told me, nope, this is just the way it's going to be. And you think of the examples where I think you were talking to a couple that they were saying, we just don't want any risk. They're tired of it. And
well, it was interesting because I met with this fantastic couple just the other day. They were mid-60s, getting ready to retire, been business owners, and just fantastic. Did all the right things through life, basically. Did a great job saving. They've kept their expenses low, no debt. I mean, just a wonderful situation. And they said, you know what? We really just don't want risk. We don't see that we need to. We walked through the analysis and stuff, and they really didn't need to take on a lot of risk. I mean, at their spending, so we started looking at their portfolio, and I was quite shocked to basically learn that the advisor that had set them up on this plan, they were taking, I would call them a moderate aggressive mix. Now these folks haven't felt it because the markets have been fairly favorable over the years. Now all of a sudden they got their end of the year statement would be for what was that 2018 just recently, and were shocked to learn that they lost money when they thought they were conservative or thought they were safe. So I told them, you don't have to just accept what's given to you, and it's really important that you understand what you have, and there's options out there.
Oh, and that's one of the things, Art, that I found that I enjoy working at Centennial Wealth Advisory is having that independence to know, okay, we can shop around all the different investment worlds and everything and try and find what is really going to come back to meeting your expectations and how much risk maybe that you're comfortable with. If you're telling us, okay, I'm tired of the stock market, I don't want to deal with the day-to-day ups and downs and everything. Okay, let's look at some alternatives. There are other options that we can evaluate and see if that might be a better fit for your comfort level. I mean, because it comes back to a lot of cases are, like you said, people don't necessarily need to be taking on as much risk as maybe they're taking, especially as they draw closer to retirement.
Yeah, John, I think too, when you look at your investment statement and you see what's going on, if you don't truly understand what you have, there's a problem. Because at the end of the day, if you don't fully know what the advantages and what the disadvantages of that investment is going to be, then you're going to be surprised at some point. You're either going to be disappointed because it didn't make enough, or you're going to be disappointed because it lost you more than you thought you were, or somewhere in between possibly. So it's really important to be educated on that. So for you sitting out there and maybe you're not 100% sure what you have, that's why we say, isn't it worth just having somebody else take a second look at that? Isn't it worth sitting down and really taking your retirement and your investments serious? And that way you have the comfort of knowing that you at least have great expectations one way or the other what may happen, and can understand both positive and negative of what those investments can do. Give us a call. We'd love to walk through that with you, and have a great rest of your week.